1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Let's see if we can get this right. Live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network. Welcome on in to this Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of our great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course streaming live on YouTube. And you can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/@Infinity Sports Net. All righty. 1 for 1. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram or on the good old cesspool of Twitter at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB. Got Pat Boyle here with me. Got Moist Mike here with me. We are rock and rolling all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific today. If you have not been made aware now you know. We are now called the Infinity Sports Network. And I do have a mug, and I got about 25 cents in my pocket that I now got to bring in each and every day. And I'm hoping by the time I get out of the studio, I could hold on to that quarter. And the way that I will do that is by not saying the old name of our network. Now, some people will say, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for you, the listener? It means absolutely nothing outside of that we just have a new name. We will deliver the same great programming. We are owned by the same great company, and we will be here 24/7, providing you live, compelling sports talk and doing the best national radio programming in the business. So I know there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of speculation. People think they're in the know and they say things, and media critics write things when they don't have a damn clue what they're talking about. It's very simple. Our deal expired. This was something that happened in the sale when CBS Radio owned a bunch of radio stations, and they sold them to Entercom, which turned into Odyssey. And we knew eventually that CBS Sports Radio, I don't want to say would be no more, but just the name would be no more. And now we are the Infinity Sports Network. So if you're a fan of Maggie and Perloff, guess what? They're on the same station. If you're a fan of Bill Ryder, same network. The legendary, the franchise, Jim Rome, same network. Your boy, Zach Gelb, same network. JR, same network. Bart Winkler, guess what? Same network. Amy Lawrence, same network as well, and also all the great fine weekend programming that we do have. Alrighty, so that's the notes right out of the gate. Now, mentally, I will just try to not say the old name of the network, but it's pretty much been programmed into my body to do it that way ever since I jumped on board here in either 2017 or 2018, whenever it was, through the weekend overnights to the 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern time shift, and then obviously the shift that we've had here since about September from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. All right, got it. Good. Away we go. Let's do what we do best, and that is some sports talk. So I saw something emerge over the weekend, and I guess it happened when Jason and Travis Kelce, I guess, were getting honorary degrees at their now alma mater, I guess, Cincinnati. And they honored them. They had them be the valedictorians, and they spoke to the graduating class at Cincinnati. So I guess since the Kelces they're from Cincinnati, but they linked up with Joe Burrow, and they did a podcast. No audio of the podcast has emerged, but it was transcribed on the Cincinnati Bengals website. So Joe Burrow's doing the podcast with Travis and Jason Kelce, the New Heights podcast, a very popular New Heights podcast. And Joe Burrow said, I think we match up pretty well with them when talking about the Chiefs. I think we're built to beat them. I always appreciate the legendary battles we have. Guys are out there always making plays. Patrick is always out there making plays. Both teams have big-time defensive lines. It's a great matchup. Now, that's a pretty innocuous comment. But in the world we live in, and sometimes I am a part of this because our show makes quite a few headlines nationally, you will have something that is not really said that is that big, but then it will blow up and it will become a big story. So that pretty harmless, obvious, truthful thing that Joe Burrow said is now getting sent out, and it's getting aggregated everywhere where it's, oh, Joe Burrow said they have the team that's built to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, like, no crap. Have you been watching football the last few years? Yes, I'm fully aware. The Kansas City Chiefs, the last time they played the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC Championship game, when some members on the Bengals defensive side of the ball started saying, oh, we're going to Burrowhead, which was like the dumbest thing you could do, after they defeated the Buffalo Bills 2 playoffs ago, the Cincinnati Bengals lost to Kansas City. But before that, the Cincinnati Bengals were on a 3-game win streak against the immortal Kansas City Chiefs, and one of those victories did occur in an AFC Championship game. So if you sit here and you say, Zach, who's the team that has the best chance to dethrone, and who's the team that has the best chance to slay and annihilate and beat Samter's Kansas City Chiefs, it's obviously the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the only reason why it wouldn't be Cincinnati, and Samter gave me a look, so I'll get to Samter in just a second. He was like he had his nose held high in the air. He's like, oh, that is a preposterous saying that Zach Gelb just said. It's an obvious fact. It's so the only team that has defeated the Kansas City Chiefs in a big game, playoffs, when it matters, have been the Cincinnati Bengals. So the only thing that could derail the Bengals is the health of Joe Burrow. And we have seen in 4 seasons, Joe Burrow be healthy and be able to play against Kansas City in 2 of them, and then has not been able to stay on the field the other 2 because his offensive line, even though it's improved, has had problems. And we've seen Joe Burrow in his first year, done season-ending injury. And then last year, right when the year started, he was hurt. They got off to the rocky start. Then he finally started to get healthy. And then, boom, injury, season over. So as long as Burrow is healthy, that's the one team, I don't want to say that could spark fear into the minds of the Kansas City Chiefs, but they are the one team that is clearly, by far and away, the biggest challenger to the Kansas City, how about those Chiefs, from winning another Super Bowl. Now the question becomes, after Cincinnati, who's the next biggest challenger? And I'm sure if I went around the room right now, people would say, oh, the 49ers. Some would say, maybe it's the Eagles. Both of those teams, though, share something in common. With leads in the Super Bowl, they were not able to close out the Kansas City Chiefs. The Eagles were up by 10 at halftime in a game where Jalen Hurts outplayed Patrick Mahomes. The Eagles still weren't able to close out the Kansas City Chiefs. The San Francisco 49ers have probably the best roster in football. Not probably, they do have the best roster in football. The 49ers with Kyle Shanahan have been up by 10 twice. Double-digit leads twice in a Super Bowl. And Kyle Shanahan, even though he's a really good coach, notice I did not say great, he is notoriously known for choking away leads in a big game. Now, he at least gets there, but when he gets to the big game, whether he was the OC of the Falcons or the head coach of the Niners twice up against the Chiefs, he has choked away the big game. So I won't say it's the 49ers. I won't say it's the Eagles. When you go through this pecking order, who's the biggest challenger to Kansas City if you eliminate the Bengals? Because it's clearly and obvious the Cincinnati Bengals. And the next team I go to, and the team that I think after Cincinnati is the biggest challenger to the Kansas City Chiefs, and I don't think this is premature whatsoever, it's the Houston Texans. That is how blown away I was by year one of C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is the fifth best quarterback today in football. And this offseason, they went out there, they got Danielle Hunter, so you have a 1-2 punch to get to the quarterback now in Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. And then, oh yeah, by the way, Nico Collins played like a number one wide receiver this past year. You were able to keep Dalton Schultz, and then you went out and traded away, an irrelevant draft pick for Stephon Diggs, who even if you think Stephon Diggs is declining, he's still a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. So I look at the Texans, who also added Joe Mixon this offseason, and I think the Texans understood the assignment. The Texans said, let's not sit on our hands here and just rest off the laurels of what happened a year ago. Let's make a team that overachieved last year even better. And yes, they play now in a tough division, the AFC South, where the Colts almost made the playoffs last year without Anthony Richardson. I got to think the Jaguars are going to bounce back. The Tennessee Titans had a sneaky good offseason where now you could get a fair assessment on if Will Levis is that dude or if he isn't. But I look at the Texans with Nick Caserio, DeMeco Ryans, C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Will Anderson Jr., and Danielle Hunter. And I think right now, today, they are the third best team in the AFC. Where number one, Kansas City. Number two, Cincinnati. And then number three, the Houston Texans. And part of why I'm picking the Texans over a team like the 49ers, over a team like the Eagles, in terms of who has a better chance to slay Kansas City, is because I've seen the 49ers now fail at it twice. I've seen the Eagles get the better quarterback play and still not be able to defeat the Kansas City Chiefs. So that is engraved in my memory. And now, even though I was dead wrong in this past Super Bowl, I picked the Niners. Even though last year I was dead wrong and I picked the Eagles to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, if let's say we see a Super Bowl rematch this year of Chiefs or Niners, or a rematch from 2 years ago, Chiefs and Eagles, I won't pick against the Chiefs this go-around. Because there is just a lack of trust, even with how great those teams appear, where we've seen them squander the opportunity when they were working in front with leads. Now, I'll throw out two more teams. How about the Green Bay Packers? Da-na-na-na-na-na. Go, Pack, go! I got to maybe put a future on the Green Bay Packers. Because Jordan Love, at times last year, especially towards the end of the season, he looked like a star. He looked like, okay, the Packers got it right, going from Favre to Rodgers, now to Love. So I will monitor, and I will maybe place a future on Green Bay. Another team, and I understand they blew the lead up against the 49ers, they blew the lead up against the 49ers, so it could sound a little hypocritical with how much you talked about the 49ers blowing leads up against the Chiefs. But you look at the Detroit Lions, they just have a mentality. And you need a certain mentality from your coach. You need it like an effort mentality from your coach in order to beat that team. Because the Kansas City Chiefs could play like crap for 3 quarters and still beat you in the 4th. The Lions, to me, I like their quarterback, Jared Goff. I don't think he's great, but you could win with him. You have good weapons around him. A defense that improved as the season did go on. But that coach, he will empty the kitchen sink and then some in order to try to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So, when I look at the 2 teams that I have the most confidence in heading into this upcoming season to try to prevent the Kansas City, how about those Chiefs, from going to three-peat, it's Cincinnati, number 1, and then the Houston Texans, number 2. Let me open this up to you, 855-212-4227. You could always shoot me a tweet on the good old cesspool of Twitter or hit me up on Instagram where I'm straight flexing at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB. But Boyle, let me take away the Cincinnati Bengals because I think they're the obvious team here. Joe Burrow, we have a team. We're built to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So I take Cincinnati out of the equation. Who is the team in the NFL, whether it's for this year or future years, that you say, okay, I like what they're building, I like what they're doing, and they have the best chance to slay the Kansas City Chiefs moving forward?
I'd say the Baltimore Ravens. They were in position to do it last year, and they got overhyped and committed stupid penalties and stupid turnovers after, I think you would agree with me, they were the best team in football throughout the regular season. Certainly the AFC. They had the number 1 seed. And then they let emotion get in the way of beating the Chiefs. And they made mistakes and turnovers that they did not make in the regular season. I think you put another year of experience under their belt with a great coach and John Harbaugh, a multiple-time winning MVP quarterback now. Yeah, and Lamar Jackson, and a defense that, yes, lost guys like Patrick Queen to a division rival, but they retooled a defense that I think is going to be top 5 in the NFL, and I think you put those two together in the playoffs next year, and I think you could be looking at Baltimore getting their revenge.
The only problem with that, and I, for years, defended Lamar Jackson, where I thought the postseason play critiques were premature, is last year, and I heard what you just said, but in the divisional round, they didn't show up in the first half. They played well in the second half, and they completely no-showed against a vulnerable Kansas City team in the AFC Championship game. It just felt like last year, if you weren't going to get there last year, then maybe you'll never get there. But Lamar's a top 5 quarterback, and John Harbaugh is a top 5 coach as well. So whenever you have a top 5 quarterback and a top 5 coach, that's usually a good recipe for success. Samter, first off, let me start with you. And I know now that since you're new into this Chiefs kingdom and you're like a snobby kind of Chiefs fan now, you probably look down on the Cincinnati Bengals. But the moment I said that it is obvious that Cincinnati is the team to beat in football if you take the Chiefs out of it, you're like, whoa. You gave me a look as if I started speaking a different language into this microphone. Well, what's up with your Cincinnati hate?
So it's not necessarily hate on Cincinnati. I would be fine with the argument that they're the second best team in the NFL. They're the biggest threat. I'm fine with that. With you saying I think that they are the second best team, the biggest threat. But when you say it is no question, they are absolutely number 2, then that's when I scoff at that. Right? This is a
scoff
team,
all you way, Samter. Scoffing Samter.
This is a team that went 5-5 last year with a healthy-ish Joe Burrow.
He was not healthy to start the season.
Healthy enough. They were still 5-5.
The injury was looming throughout the entirety of the start of that season.
They were still 5-5. They haven't gotten any better since 2022 when they lost to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Right? 2021 they beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. 2022 they lost in the playoffs. That year, they were 6th in points per game allowed, 16th in yards per game allowed. Last year, their defense, forget about Joe Burrow, their defense got worse. 21st in points per game and 31st in yards per game. Their defense is getting worse. Joe Mixon is gone. They don't really have a real run game anymore, so Zach Moss is their number one running back.
Yeah, but they
they
didn't
lost
love Joe
Tyler
Mixon when he
Boyd,
was there
who was
the
their
last 2
slot
years.
receiver, so they lost their third best receiver. I'm just saying, when you have a wide open offense, you need to either run the ball or throw the ball. And they might also lose T. Higgins. We don't know.
So let me just
Their
tell you how
defense
this
is getting
works.
worse. Joe Burrow, we don't know if he can stay healthy. They probably are the second best team in the NFL. They probably are the biggest threat. But to say they unconditionally are, no doubt, I don't agree with it at all.
Well, here's
I think
why. They don't have a mental fear. They don't have a mental roadblock with the Kansas City
they might have a
Chiefs.
physical roadblock, though.
But the other teams have roadblocks. Kyle Shanahan wakes up in the middle of the night screaming at the thought of Patrick Mahomes with the football in his hands in the second half of football games. The injuries are a concern, but there's only been one team to beat Kansas City when it's mattered. And that is the Cincinnati Bengals. And also, you're new to this winning thing. You're not used to winning as a football fan, because we all remember who you rooted for the first 30-something years of your life, those pathetic New York Jets. Great elite quarterbacks find a way to still be great and elite even when they lose a Tyler Boyd or even a T. Higgins. As long as he has Jamar Chase, the Burrow to Chase connection will be good enough. Well, they will be a contending team for the foreseeable future as long as Burrow is healthy. One team we have not mentioned, but they could be the most important. It's the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, the Chargers have a lot of work to do. I don't think the Chargers are going to be all that special this year. But for 20 years, the Patriots were in a division that basically urinated down their leg in trying to be competent anytime they got an opportunity to be competent. The Jets, the Dolphins, and the Bills, for the most part, were all incompetent for 20 years. The Chargers, with Harbaugh and Herbert, need to be serious contenders. It's not going to happen overnight, but ultimately they need to be serious contenders, because in that division, you need someone to take the baton away. And I don't trust the Broncos, and I don't trust the Raiders. So I have to trust the Chargers, and I hope Harbaugh can get it right with Herbert. Who's the biggest contender to the Kansas City Chiefs and the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs outside of the Cincinnati Bengals? 855-212-4227. We'll take a break. When we're coming back, which NBA playing game are you most excited about? It is the Zach Gelb Show on the brand new Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
All righty, welcome back. How we doing? This is the Infinity Sports Network. Zach Gelb here with you on the Zach Gelb Show. I guess with the name of our old network, we can now take shots at CBS. Is that what we're going to do? Oh, I was watching last night. Billy Joel had his 100th show at Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena, and it was broadcasted on CBS. And remember when they blew up the Georgia Dome and that bus, right as they were like, all right, here we go, 3, 2, 1. And then on a live TV broadcast, the bus just blocked the TV cameras, and that's now gone to be like a famous meme that people use. Well, in the middle of Piano Man, CBS, I guess, ended the broadcast, and they went to their local news, which is crazy. That's like the Billy Joel song. And you cut out of that when you were broadcasting the 100th show for Billy Joel at Madison Square Garden. I've seen Billy Joel once. Mark Rivera, who is his saxophone player, one of my good friends from college, his father is very big in the art world, and he works with Ringo Starr. Now, I never thought when my friend claimed in college that his dad is like legitimately best friends with Ringo Starr, that was actually ever true. And then when he turned 21, the dad reached out to us when my friend Zach turned 21, and they were like, oh, we're getting all these videos from friends and family to wish Zach a happy 21st birthday. And it ended with Uncle Ringo, Ringo Starr, capping off the video. So through that connection and with Ringo's all-star band, Mark Rivera plays not only saxophone for Billy Joel, but he plays for Ringo Starr's all-star band. So through that connection, I was able to go and see Billy Joel right before the world shut down with the pandemic. And we were like fifth row, backstage passes, all that stuff. And Mark Rivera saw us in the crowd, and he was literally playing to us. So Billy Joel is a great concert. I know some buffoons that used to work here, like Sean Marash, are like, oh, Billy Joel over Bruce Springsteen. You're just wrong. Springsteen puts on a much better show than Billy Joel. But
Billy Joel over Springsteen any day.
And once again, this is what I've learned here. Working at what was CBS Sports Radio, that's now Infinity Sports Network. Anytime producers agree here, I either just further confirm that my take is right. Like, Hickey, always wrong. Samter, always wrong. Marash actually has some right takes, but he's crazy. You've been wrong on a lot of things. You've been wrong on a lot
I've been right
things.
on a lot of things, too.
I don't know. Does anyone know what Samter's been right on? Bueller. Crickets. But
How
anyway.
about the Chiefs?
Okay. You jumped on a bandwagon of a football team and ditched your team at the altar. Let me give you a slow clap for that. But you could like both. I like Billy Joel. I also love and adore Bruce Springsteen and the legendary E Street Band. But I hope he's fine from a health standpoint. I see he's not doing the Dodgers game. But Charlie Steiner, who used to be the Yankees play-by-play guy with John Sterling, and now for years has been a part of the Dodgers broadcast. Charlie Steiner did the Curb Your Enthusiasm chat and cut at the Billy Joel concert that I was at. So we are backstage, and there's a bar, and Charlie Steiner knew who I was, and, you know, I know who he is. And he walks up to me, goes, "Hey, Zach, how you doing?" He goes, "Oh, let me get a bottle of red, a bottle of white, ha, 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 ha." And he was doing that, like, announcery, play-by-play, typical voice. But there was a long line to get into line for the bar to get a drink. And Charlie Steiner, to his credit, saw a large human being and yours truly that he had a connection with, did the chat and cut about like 55, 60 people waiting in line behind stage, got his drink, then said, "Good to see you, Zach," and went to another table. So respect. That is an OG move by Charlie Steiner, and we hope, obviously, he get back in those Dodgers games real soon. Anyway, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CB on Infinity Sports Network. Almost did it. Almost lost that quarter of mine. See, that's going to be the problem. It's when you're just like casually talking, and then you're just programmed to say what the old network was, and then boom, you got to be reminded that we are the Infinity Sports Network. Well, anyway, CBS had to issue an apology for cutting away from the Billy Joel broadcast during Piano Man. A network programming timing error ended last night's Billy Joel special approximately 2 minutes early in the Eastern and Central time zones. We apologize to Mr. Joel, his fans, our affiliated stations, and our audience whose viewing experience was interrupted during the last song. Due to the overwhelming demand from his fans, Billy Joel, the 100th Live at Madison Square Garden, will rebroadcast in its entirety on CBS on April 19th at 9 p.m. Eastern. So how about that? For 2 minutes.
And how embarrassing, too, was it that wasn't the live show last night? That was, that was in the can.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, that wasn't live.
Oh, okay.
They had time.
I didn't know that.
They had time to record, they had time to edit that so that it would finish perfectly. Mm-hmm. And they still messed it up.
So that was like, we have a hard out at the top of the hour. I have to get off the air. What is it, 50?
55:45.
Thank you, 55:45.
54:45.
Don't mess me up. When do I have to get off the air at the end of the hour?
54:45.
54:45. So if I go at 54:46, it cuts me off. Like, I can still speak into the microphone, but no one will hear what I'm saying. So they had a timed out, and they still couldn't get it right. Now, I don't know why. I just sense things a certain way when people walk into a room. And, like, when Ack walked into the room, his face lit up when he heard me talking about this. I think Ack is a big Billy Joel fan.
I am.
Were you annoyed? Were you watching this last night?
No, actually, I taped the last half hour because I knew it started later because of the Masters.
So let me ask you this. Did you think did you go back and watch it yet?
I did watch it.
Okay.
I wasn't so annoyed because...
Did you think it was a recording issue at first?
I wasn't sure what to make of it because I was like... Because in New York, it was the CBS local news. And I was like, couldn't they have, like, waited? Like, wasn't anybody watching this? Like, did it have to start at 11:30 on the nose? So I wasn't sure what it was, but it was But I was also I was a little perturbed only because they edited it to begin with because there were a couple of songs in there that they left out.
Gotcha.
So I was like, what's the difference already at this point?
It almost kind of reminded, like, from your experience, not everyone else's that was watching it live, it almost kind of reminds me of the ending to The Sopranos, where when they fade to black.
I'm one of the few that like that.
Well, I had really no opinion on it, but when it faded to black, I'll never forget, I thought the cable box
I did too.
went out.
And I'm like, what happened?
You son of a you-know-what? The cable box goes out in the ending of the most popular TV show of all time. And then we did find out when the credits started rolling up, that's just how they ended the show.
So it was kind of a stunning ending, but I actually did like that ending. But
I was once talking to Joe Ganascoli, who played Vito in The Sopranos.
Yep, sure.
And this is when I was doing local radio at 920 AM The Jersey, one of my first jobs out of college. And I told him that, and he goes, well, none of us knew how it was going to end. Like,
exactly.
We were all part of episodes towards the end, but not many people knew how it was going to end.
I think they filmed several endings, correct?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
But Joe told me that him and his buddies were watching the ending all together, and they had the same reaction. They thought, because that used to be a big thing, the cable box would go out, and then it would slowly reload. They all thought the cable box did go out. So I know that's very controversial.
They weren't alone.
Anywho, the play-in tournament in the NBA real quickly. You have the Pelicans and the Lakers, the Kings and the Warriors in the West, and then in the East, you have the Sixers and the Heat, the Bulls, and the Hawks. What's the matchup that you're most curious to see? I was going to say it was the Sixers and the Heat. I'm actually more curious about the Pelicans and the Lakers. And I don't think this play-in tournament has been a great success. I know people love to just like slobber over Spineless Silver, Adam Silver. I'm not one of them if you listen to this show. But this play-in tournament was supposed to make the regular season be better. And they're supposed to prevent teams from tanking. The Mavs last year tanked, right? Towards the end of the season, didn't give a rat's ass about the play-in tournament. But I don't like when you go through an 82-game season rewarding teams that aren't in the top 8. I think it's stupid. Now, the reason why it somewhat has worked is because you've got stars, because they have kind of dogged the regular season, have underperformed. You have stars that are in the play-in tournament, so it's a draw. But you look at Zion going up against the Lakers, it's crazy. Zion was like the thing coming out of Duke. And he's been hurt in the NBA. He's been out of shape. But this year, he's been good. And I felt like nationally, we've not heard a peep from Zion Williamson. And we haven't heard a peep about his coverage. So it's one thing that it's good. And Samter, I'll actually give him credit. He made this point. So one of the things that I know that Samter is definitely right on, he made the point, yeah, it's good because he's healthy and he's playing, but it's also bad because we thought this was supposed to be one of the future faces of the league, and this is going to be a star of the league. And even when he's having his best season to date, there's really not been a lot of conversations about Zion Williamson. So I'm excited for that one, Pelicans and the Lakers. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a timeout. Scotty Scheffler wins another green jacket. And I am going to compare Scotty Scheffler to a recent champion in another sport when we return. Update time. Here's the latest sports flash with the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Looking for a career path with flexibility and great pay and benefits? Go to progressive.com/careers and apply online today. Patriots Day in Boston, which means the Red Sox were an early start. They did not come up with a big performance today. Shut out by the Guardians 6-0. Tyler Glasnow has been a big hit in his new home so far, and he goes for his 4th straight win to open the season. When the Dodgers host the Nationals, LA has the best record in the National League. The Yankees off to the best start of anyone in major leagues. In the major leagues at 12-4, they open a series in Toronto. Just a week after playing for the national championship, Caitlin Clark takes the next step tonight in the WNBA draft. She's expected to be the number 1 pick overall by the Indiana Fever. The former Iowa star told ESPN undaunted by the challenge ahead.
This is a new chapter of my life and moving on and starting a fresh challenge. But at the same time, everybody's eyeballs are still on you. I think it presents a new challenge and a new pressure, but to me, that's exciting. That's what I signed up for. That's one of the reasons I left college is I think I'm ready for this from a maturity standpoint, from a basketball standpoint.
Cisse Lemma won the Boston Marathon. Helen Obiri, the women's winner for the 2nd straight year. I'm Rich Ackerman.
855-212-4227. That's the number to get in touch with us. The Infinity Sports Network. Give us a call. 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
La 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 da da da. La la da da da.
CBS cuts it off right here.
This is the Infinity Sports Network.
Sing us a song, you're the piano man. Sing us a song tonight. Well, we're all in the mood for a melody, and you got us feeling all right.
All right, it's time to Ask the Pros, where you, the listener, get to ask us a question, and it's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your questions at INFSportsNet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the show when we might answer your questions. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the brand new Infinity Sports Network. So, Scotty Scheffler, he was awesome, but I wouldn't say it was entertaining, because when we did go into that Masters Sunday yesterday, and you were at like hole 6 or 7, the leaderboard was really like jammed up, and you thought for a bit it was crowded. You know, we'll probably get a playoff, or at least it was going to be bare minimum an epic finish. And once Scotty almost holed out on 9, it was like lights out. Everyone else crumbled after that. Like, Eamon Corner got everyone on the back 9 at Augusta. So Scotty wins. Scotty was the heavy favorite. Everyone expected Scotty to win. And maybe it's because I'm such a big Tiger fan and we were spoiled for so long. But it's weird because Tiger's what got me into golf. I don't want to say it could ruin it for me, but when you are so used to seeing a one-of-one talent, and not only was he great, but he was also polarizing, right? Came with a lot of drama, was so entertaining. Like, it's one thing to just be great, but are you great enough where you draw me to stop everything that I'm doing to watch you play a sport? Like, Caitlin Clark, the last 2 years, didn't win a championship, but she was so great, she made me tune into women's college basketball when I normally would never do so. Steph Curry is so great, and he's so just like a video game on the court, he made me tune in to the NBA. It's like Tom Brady makes you tune in to the NFL. Now Patrick Mahomes. So there are certain athletes that are great, and then they're just so jaw-dropping entertaining. Scotty Scheffler's great, and he does things in a sport that is so tough to be that elite. But when I was watching the Masters, I wasn't like blown away where I said to myself, I need to watch every shot, and I need to sit on my couch, and I can't do like any errands or any like things around the house or go take a shower or something like that while the Masters Sunday was on. And I don't want that to seem like I don't appreciate what Scotty Scheffler did, because on the back 9, he was sensational. And it's so tough, right? Like, we had Alex Myers on, and I said to Alex Myers from Golf Digest, Scotty or the field. And it's so tough in a sport like golf to pick one golfer over the field, but you knew Scotty was going to win. And it kind of reminds me a little bit like the Yukon Huskies. That's who Scotty Scheffler reminds me of. Like, the UConn Huskies have been so great the last years and so dominant. Scotty Scheffler has been so great and so dominant. And both were expected to win their respective championships. For Scotty, the major championship at the Masters, and then for UConn, this past year's NCAA tournament. But when you watch them, there's not like one thing that makes you marvel and makes you definitely have to watch them. I don't want to. I'm not going to lie. And I'm not this person that says golf is boring. I love golf. It was a boring Masters. And Scotty, he is a star. We know that. But sometimes I like to see my stars have great personalities. Scotty just doesn't have a personality. And that's fine. You keep on winning. Eventually, people they can't keep on saying those same things. Who cares? And you just got to tip your cap. And I'm tipping my cap to Scotty Scheffler. Like Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan, legendary basketball player, right? Spurs dynasty, spectacular. But he was boring. Like Tim Duncan, the personality, Tim Duncan, the person is boring. UConn, great team, outside of Dan Hurley, boring. Scotty Scheffler, great golfer, but boring. So I guess what I'm saying here, and maybe this will be the way for like my football fandom, my individual football fandom too. Because I was in the penthouse for 20 years with the Patriots and Tom Brady. Now, Tom Brady's no longer a part of there. Like, even if the Pats win a Super Bowl, like, let's say they draft Drake May, and 8 years from now, they win a Super Bowl with Drake May. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm going to be excited, I'm going to be thrilled, I'm going to be pumped up. But it's never going to be able to replicate what I've seen in the past. And since I grew up loving Tiger Woods, when he was in that U.S. Open on one leg against Rocco Mediate, and it went to the playoffs on that Monday, I begged my mom when the U.S. Open started for that playoff to let me miss school, and my mom is the best, so obviously she did. And all I wanted to do was watch that and see that, because that's how big of a fan I was of Tiger. But as great as Tiger was, obviously, for the sport, and no individual athlete in golf has driven you to watch golf more than Tiger Woods, it kind of ruins this like next chapter of golf. Because Tiger gets to the 4 rounds at Augusta, but he was terrible. Outside of the first 2 days, he was terrible on Saturday and Sunday. So now it's like, who's going to be that next face of golf? And it's so tough with all this nonsense with Live Golf and the PGA Tour. It's like, personality-wise, Rory was a lightning rod the last few years, but Rory needs to complete the career Grand Slam. He can't win at Augusta. Bryson DeChambeau had that polarizing personality, has won a major championship, but he doesn't win enough. John Rahm, you won the Masters last year. Can you at least look like you want to be there this year? It's almost like he got into his own head where you do go to Live, you took the money. Just admit that it was all because financial. He made it out to be in his post-round press conference after Sunday that, he went there and he thought he was going to be like the person that expedites change to unify Live and the PG. Like, dude, you reportedly got $300 million. That's why you went to Live Golf. So there's not a name in golf right now that has the success on the course and then also can be just like such a lightning rod in a good way, in an entertaining way, and has his haters and also has a loyal fan base. There's just not that name in golf right now. And there's a lot of good golfers. I'm a little disappointed because, and maybe it was a product of the environment where there's not a lot of sports on, and at least golf was on. But there was a big craze where a lot of people playing golf more than ever during the pandemic, because you got out of the house, you at least be able to do something, blah, blah, blah. And it made you watch golf more. And there have been moments, obviously, when Tiger's not been healthy enough to play and can't be on the course. And I'm like, oh, wow, golf's in a great state. But when I watched the Masters, right, the tournament on Sunday, and you had this crowded leaderboard, and it was kind of a dud of a finish where Scotty was just so much better than everybody else and everyone else imploded. It's like, okay, it's great to see Scotty win, And he is a phenomenal golfer. There's the hot take of the week, obviously. But he doesn't make you want to tune in. He doesn't captivate the audience. And I do ultimately think that just comes down to my roots where, I was a huge Tiger fan. Still am a huge Tiger fan. And in a weird way, it's kind of like spoiled my future watchings of golf because no one's ever going to be like Tiger Woods again. So those were kind of my impressions on the Masters. Scotty great. Scotty like UConn. You knew he was going to win. But you walk away and it's like, all right. You knew that was going to happen. But, outside of the shot where he almost holed out, there wasn't like that memorable moment. It's not like defining moment where you're like, oh, my God. Like, goodness gracious. That was absolutely spectacular. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a timeout. Mark Pope, we'll talk about him when we return, the new Kentucky coach. That was a shocker. And also Dean Thomas is going to stop by 25 minutes from now. Former UFC fighter, now great broadcaster, to recap UFC 300 and also the return of Conor McGregor.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. 855-212-4227 is how you connect with us via the phones. You could always get at me, Instagram or Twitter, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. We'll get to Mark Pope being the new coach at Kentucky in just a second. Big broadcasting news. Obviously, yesterday, if you were watching the Masters, we know Vern Lundquist, legendary college football voice, has done obviously NFL games, but the only thing he was still really broadcasting was the Masters, and he has that great position on 16 and one of the iconic voices, Uncle Vern. Well, yesterday was his last Masters. I literally thought Vern was going to do the Masters until he was no longer on the earth. And he said that this was always something that he was going to do. But he is 83 years old. He turns 84 in July. So obviously a massive, massive, massive standing ovation. And you can't say more of kind things about Vern's career, where I don't know how many people have a bad word to say about Vern. But anytime I've been able to have interactions with him, he is just the definition of class. And I miss him on those SEC football games. I really do. That voice, he just always knew that there was something special about it. Obviously did a bunch of NFL games, worked a little bit with the late, great John Madden as well. But to have that moment yesterday, and I thought, right, it was subtle, but it was appropriate, right? Because golf's a different tone. Like, when you watch golf, it's like class, it's like whisper into a microphone, and it's tough to really give someone like the proper send-off. I thought CBS did a good job yesterday, and I know some people were like, oh, they cut away too early when Vern was trying to speak. He was clearly emotional. That tournament means everything to him. If you know Vern, you know that. And he just couldn't speak. So, he had his moment of thanks, and then eventually they faded away to commercial. And it was cool to see Tiger pay his respects through the week. And you had Vern, he was like hiding behind a tree, and you just see the hand of Vern Lundquist just pop out, and then Tiger shakes the hand, and there was a different shot where eventually you got to see the full exchange. But I kid you not, and sometimes I don't like when this happens in sports, when someone retires and everyone makes it about them. Or someone takes a job or gets a promotion and everyone makes it about them, right? On social media, that could bug me, where someone gets a new job or someone retires and everyone just shares their experience with that person. Like, first, thank the person, explain why the person is a legend, and then, like, a little bit later on, you could relate your personal experience. But I always feel whenever you have a legend retire or you have someone take a new job, it's always like for everyone else to have a look at me type of moment. So with all that being said, I will have a look at me type of moment with Vern. When John Madden passed away, we had Vern on what was CBS Sports Radio, now the all-new Infinity Sports Network. And Vern joined us, and he was talking about the impact of John Madden. And he was saying no one operated a telestrator on a TV broadcast like John Madden. And in doing so, this was not intentional. This is just Vern being a nice guy, right? Just having a conversation, explaining himself. And I don't think this was meant to be as malicious as it may sound. But in the process of Vern praising and remembering the late, great John Madden and his impact on TV, he did take a shot at a coworker of ours. Now, at the time, this interview happened live, but we didn't pump it out or anything afterwards because the person that he was taking a shot at was taking a new job. And it wouldn't be a right thing being a company guy to really pump this content out to someone that's very nice to us and someone that is a great person. And right when they get a new job, have this kind of piece of audio go viral. But let's look back. This is my favorite Vern moment ever. Vern on the Zach Gelb Show. When was this? This was December 2021, remembering John Madden. And in the process of showing and speaking how great Vern's memory was of John Madden on TV, he did take a shot at our coworker of ours. Listen up.
I think Chris Collinsworth does a really good job on Sunday night with that little device. I've seen some others who are, they probably should never touch that telestrator screen. I'm thinking of one guy who worked with Greg Gumbel over the weekend who they would show a replay. Oh, come on. I'll tell you who it was. It was Tiki Barber, who I know and is a wonderful guy, but he doesn't do that much. You know Tiki?
Yeah, he's a coworker of ours.
Oh, for gosh sake.
He used to do the show before us, but he's moving down the hall, so don't worry.
Please never tell him that I'm telling you.
I see him every day. He's a good friend. But go ahead, Vern.
Oh, my gosh. I'm embarrassed now.
That moment, and Samter worked with Tiki for a long time, but that moment, even with all the great memories we have of Uncle Vern, it's the only thing I could think of because it was so innocent by Vern. He was just talking about the business. Some guys are great at the telestrator. No one was better than John Madden. Chris Collinsworth is with it, is one of the best at it. Like he was saying, then he goes, and then there was some guy I was watching over the weekend. He's a very nice guy. Oh, I'm forgetting his name, but he was doing the broadcast, and he's like, Tiki. And I'm like, of all places for Vern to say that, in the 9,000 interviews he did after the death of John Madden, it was on, at the time, CBS Sports Radio, where Tiki worked for 10 years. So, Samter, I don't know if you ever heard that, but when you were listening to it today before we aired it, what did you kind of think about that with how close you are to Tiki?
No, I mean, listen, this was 4 years ago. Tiki was just getting his start on CBS doing TV, so I'm sure he wasn't super acclimated to the telestrator. However, I just found it funny. It's coming from a guy. I'm surprised he said his name.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to say the name.
I thought if he just said something like, "Oh, I saw some guy on the telestrator this weekend," that's what. But Vern was just having fun. Vern wasn't meaning any harm by it. Vern just seems like a nice guy, and he's just having a good time. And probably because he knows Tiki personally, he didn't. Feel like there'd be any offense to it.
He didn't mean it the way that some people would probably make it out to be.
Yeah,
and my favorite, he's like, "Don't tell him." And I've never told Tiki about that.
Oh no, I played it for him in the newsroom. He heard it.
Did you really?
No.
Oh, I was gonna say I wanted to hear his reaction.
He was walking by while I was listening to it, so I stopped it just in case.
Turn the volume down.
Just in case. I didn't want to have him walking into a new show with a new boss and a new network and everything.
It's almost like when you're watching March Madness in the office and you just press that button that pops up an Excel sheet so your bosses don't actually see that you're watching March Madness.
Yeah.
That was kind of you today.
And listen, when I think of Vern, I think of Happy Gilmore. Vern has so many amazing memories actually being at the Masters, yet I'm thinking about the gold jacket in Happy Gilmore, not the green jacket at the Masters.
Isn't that
in Augusta.
funny? We have an iconic voice where no one could say a bad word about this dude. He is one of the more legendary broadcasters, Vern Lundquist, who's now out of broadcasting. The Masters, the last thing he was doing, it was his last Masters this past Sunday and this past week. And Santa, the only thing he could think about is Happy Gilmore. And with all the legendary calls, all I could think about is Vern coming on the show and taking a jab, which wasn't a malicious jab, at Tiki Barber.
Well, I think also, like, when you think about golf calls, I mean, there have been some amazing Vern calls.
Oh, my goodness, is I know that he is yes, sir, and all that, but oh, my goodness, with Tiger, and then how he did that years ago, and then when Tiger won his recent major, and he had that moment, it was on 16, when he's walking from 16 to 17, and he almost had that great shot, and he was like, I'm compelled to say, oh, my goodness, that's a legendary call. And obviously, I think he was on the kick six. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Vern was on kick six, Alabama, and Auburn in the Iron Bowl. There's so many legends. You could sit there, but for us, it's funny. Your memory is Happy Gilmore, and mine is the Tiki Barber moment.
Yeah, and it's amazing. With a career that long, there's so much to choose from. It's impossible to pick one or two, really. I mean, obviously, like, you think of Al Michaels, the Miracle.
Do you believe in miracles? Yes!
Yeah, so there's a cut, but like with Vern, he's been so good for so long in so many sports. You can't just
basketball
find
college basketball.
You can't just find one sport with Vern. He's done Final Fours, and he's done the Masters, and he was
on
football.
the Christian Laettner call, I'm pretty sure, too.
Oh, he's so good, and so many different calls that shaped our viewing of sports and our memories of the things that we fell in love with as fans. That Vern is just he is the voice of our sports fandom.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy because there's just certain iconic voices that you feel like they'll never go away, and eventually, right, everyone has an expiration date on when they could do this, and you ride off into the sunset or you retire or things like that, and it's like, oh, what are you going to do without that voice? And eventually new voices do emerge. I was also reading, and this is from the New York Post, and also via Andrew Marchand at The Athletic, but the New York Post just had a quick excerpt about it, that the Yankees' legendary voice, John Sterling, and this is what it says in the New York Post headline, is expected to retire this week due to health concerns. So I know John a little bit. Man, I hope everything's okay with John. John's got to be, 83? I want to say. Let me just do a little quick search. 85. And I know his birthday's July 4th. So he turns 86 in July. I know a lot of people like to clown John Sterling because he's messed up some calls just because his vision's not as great as he once was. But that is a creme de la creme broadcaster. And I think he reminded everybody in the Judge race a little while back how great of a broadcaster he is. But I hope everything's all right with John. And if these reports are true that he's retiring this week, man, tip of the cap and a large standing ovation for John Sterling, just one of those iconic voices. And it's crazy. He did Atlanta Hawks games, and he'll tell you about that, but that's an iconic voice. Like, ball game over, Yankees win. The Yankees win. And then a lot of people mock it and do the Yankees lose when the Yankees lose. But, like, man, that's crazy to see that right now. When we're talking about Vern, and then that pops up on the screen that John Sterling, according to the New York Post, is expected to retire this week due to health concerns. Is there any more information on that, Samter, when you're he's holding a news conference Friday? Is that what it is?
Yeah, the only other thing that we've seen, Pat and I, is that initially, people thought maybe it would be end of the season, but now it seems like it could be immediate.
Wow.
So that
if
would
health
be absolutely
concerns,
crazy.
I don't want to speculate.
Yeah, we don't know. And listen, we also don't know if this is 100% the case. This is a lot of speculation. Andrew usually gets things right, usually knows things before he says things. But, it's an end of an era if it's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pete Caldera of the Bergen Record and NorthJersey.com said that Sterling confirmed to the Record and NorthJersey.com he has decided to call it a career. So I think he is going to be retiring Friday.
Okay, so if it is a health issue, right? You wish him first and foremost all the best health moving forward. Even though, right, he's in his mid-80s. And, right, these things happen. It is tough to imagine a baseball game, a Yankee baseball game, at least, without John Sterling. So wish him, obviously, congratulations, and hope everything is okay with some of the differentiating reporting out there. I can't speculate here, but Justin Shackle used to do updates for me on the weekend overnights when I first got here at CBS Sports Radio. And he's like the main fill-in Yankee play-by-play guy, so if this means Shackle gets a lot of opportunities, I hope Justin Shackle does end up crushing it. All righty. Mark Pope to Kentucky. My first reaction was I was surprised, but it ends up, in my opinion, being a good hire. I'll tell you more about it coming up later on this hour, but we do got to take a break here on the Infinity Sports Network. It is the Zach Gelb Show. And when we return, we're going to be joined by former UFC fighter and now is a UFC broadcaster, and Dean Thomas. We just had UFC 300 over the weekend. And man, those are some savages in the octagon. I had a very nice parlay hit. Very nice parlay hit where I won some straight cash homie over the weekend. But we'll talk about the future of the UFC. And then also, we now have a date on the Conor McGregor return. Conor McGregor has not fought since 2021. He will be going up against Michael Chandler at UFC 303 at the end of June. So we'll recap UFC 300, and we will also have to preview what Conor McGregor is going to look like since we last saw him in the octagon when he did have a broken leg. And he's lost 3 out of his last 4 fights. So a whole lot to do. We'll talk some UFC when we return with Dean Thomas. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Listening to the Infinity Sports Network.
That's right. It is the Infinity Sports Network. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you? It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on ISN. We will be joined coming up in a few moments by Dean Thomas, the former UFC fighter. Now does a great job broadcasting a bunch of fights. And we just had UFC 300 come to a close. Epic few fights on the main card that did come your way this past Saturday, and we got a big announcement from Dana White at the end of UFC 300 where a paper was just slipped to him. It's kind of a crazy way that this did happen, and he announced some fights that were going to happen at the Prudential Center for, I believe, UFC 302, and then he just gave a Dana White smile and made it clear that Conor McGregor is coming back at the end of June for his triumphant return, UFC 303. Last time we did see Conor McGregor, he did break his leg, and that was in 2021. And we've been hearing about this fight with McGregor and Chandler, and we were waiting and waiting and waiting when it was going to happen. I actually thought it was never going to happen, and we got the date that it's going to be June 29th. So coming up this summer, you will see the return of Conor McGregor into a UFC octagon. Dean Thomas is going to join us momentarily on the Zach Gelb Show on Infinity Sports Network, and Dean's kind enough to join us right now after what was an epic UFC 300. Dean, appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much for doing this. How you been, my friend?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great. So let me start you off with the last fight, the main event on the main card, and that was Alex Pereira, who once again, right, it doesn't matter where he fights. All this guy does is win. He's won the middleweight belt before, the light heavyweight belt now. But to see that knockout where he gets hit in the groin, waves off the referee, and then 10 seconds later delivers a knockout. I know you've seen a lot of things in the octagon, but how did you process that one?
I mean, that was gangster. There's no other way to put it other than gangster. I mean, it was if he knew something about Jamal Hill that we all didn't know, as if he knew that was coming. So when he got hit in the groin and he just kind of waved off Herb Dean and said, "Don't worry, I got this." I mean, it was a gangster move. It was a flex. And poor Jamal Hill to come back, to accept this fight, to me, on short notice, he might have came back prematurely, but poor Jamal Hill to have to go out there and be on the receiving end of something as gangster as that was.
And I also heard that after the fight, Dana White said that he had a broken pinky toe. So how much does that affect maybe a fighter when you get in the octagon if you have a broken pinky toe?
I mean, that's pretty bad. I mean, it's the little things sometimes, and the little things have an effect on your mentality going into a fight. So having a broken pinky toe, knowing that you can't really move as well or knowing that you can't do certain things, that little element can just turn into such a big, huge factor of a fight just because of the mentality going in. You know, wait a minute, I'm going to be a little bit limited.
Dean Thomas here with us on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. So after the fight, Alex Pereira, right, is in the octagon, and he's talking about, all right, he's had success as a middleweight, and he's had success as a light heavyweight. Now he wants to compete in the heavyweight division. How did you kind of react to that one? And do you think that's something that obviously he could do? Because, man, from the electricity with his introduction and then the performances, doesn't matter where he fights, this dude's one of the more entertaining fighters right now in the sport.
Yeah, he's fully taking advantage of his window of opportunity, and you got to give him credit for that. A lot of fighters don't take full advantage of it because they're not disciplined. And I spent time around Alex Pereira, and he's so disciplined. He's so focused on the task at hand, and that is winning fights. His life revolves around winning fights. From the moment he wakes up to the moment he goes to bed, he's thinking about winning fights. So I think he can go up to heavyweight and have some success. Can he beat Tom Aspinall? I don't think there's a person on the planet who could beat Tom Aspinall, but he can still have some success at heavyweight. He would even have success against John Jones, but Tom Aspinall is a different beast.
I know it's right after the fight, so you hear Dana say something and it could change a few days later or a few weeks or months later, but he kind of shot that down pretty quickly. He didn't think that would be a smart decision. I was watching his post-fight press conference, UFC 300, and Dana said, I wouldn't go to heavyweight if I was him. I would stay around the light heavyweight division for a little bit. Why do you think that was?
I think sometimes when fighters want to move around a bit, it just kind of convolutes the divisions. And, the heavyweight doesn't need Alex Pereira up there. They need John Jones to come back and fight. That's what they need. So I'm sure he just shot it down for that. But let's keep it real here. Sometimes Dana and the guys don't want things to happen. A little birdie told me that they didn't even want Max Holloway to move up to fight Justin Gaethje.
Wow.
And we saw what happened when Max Holloway moved up to fight Justin Gaethje. He gave us one of the most memorable moments that we will never forget that happened inside the octagon.
And talking about that moment with Dean Thomas right now, I know he's done that before, but on this stage with 10, 15 seconds left in a fight that he was going to win, to say, let's just go savage mode and meet in the middle and beat the snot out of each other, and then he delivers the knockout. Like, we've seen buzzer beaters, right, in basketball. I've never seen a buzzer beater like that on that stage in the sport of UFC. I know we talked about Pereira first and how insane his knockout was. I've never really seen anything that I can remember from Max Holloway.
No, you can't. I mean, you can't compare it to anything else. I was trying to compare it to other sports, and you just can't. And I rode back to the hotel with Laura Sanko in the whip, and we were talking, and I told her, we don't know anybody like Max Holloway. Unless you know Max Holloway, you don't know anybody who's built like Max Holloway. And you can ask your friends, no one knows anybody like this, because Max Holloway is just built different. He's a different breed of human being, and what we got to witness, we're lucky to be in the era of Max Holloway. And even Justin Gaethje, we're lucky to be in this era of MMA where these guys have the heart that they have and they are as good as they are to give us those level of performances, and to give it to us with just such freedom to just play, right? Because some guys that are good, they're like, no, I don't want to fight now because, I tore, my pinky, what I'm saying? Like, or I got a hangnail. I don't want to fight right now. Or we couldn't make the deal. But you got a guy like Max Holloway who said, I'm a gladiator. Gladiators don't walk around with scales asking fighters how much they weigh. They fight. Justin Gaethje gets poked in the eye. It says, waves it off. I don't care. We're still fighting. We don't know anybody like this, and we are lucky to have been able to witness those two fight.
I actually wonder what Max Holloway did after the fight, because obviously he won, but that leg was swollen, and you could see it just getting bigger and bigger and bigger during the fight. You have this experience winning fights before. When you win, though, and you get beat up, does it affect how you party after the fight? Just wondering.
Oh, absolutely. I remember my very first fight, which was in Vegas, UFC 33 against Fabiano Iha. I remember my mouth was so cut up from getting punched in the mouth. I wanted to eat a burger, and I couldn't even eat a burger. I couldn't even eat because the ketchup was burning my mouth. So
wow.
I'm sure Max Holloway, after a fight like that, he was probably riding high, but I'm sure once he came down, he was in a tremendous amount of pain. But when he was fighting, if you saw the focus on his face, again, we don't know. And I mean, I don't know who your group of friends are, But I can almost assure you, you don't know anybody like Max Holloway, because I grew up around fighters and none of them are like Max Holloway.
Trust me, none of my friends are going to be as savage as Max Holloway. Wrap it up with Dean Thomas, who's here with us right now. All righty. So there was all these rumors that at UFC 300, we were going to get this announcement that McGregor's coming back. It's been speculated, right? It's been set up for such a while. I was at a point, though, where I was like, all right, enough. Just wake me up when we have the date, and Michael Chandler's going to be fighting Conor McGregor. Now that we have a date, end of June, June 29th at UFC 303, what was your first thought when you heard Dana White announce that late Saturday evening?
I was happy about it because we had heard the rumors so much, and they had been playing with our emotions for so long, for almost 2 years, it seemed like. And I remember doing the after Tough show of Tough 32, in which Chandler and McGregor competed with the Ultimate Fighter. And I was like, man, I hope that Chandler gets an opportunity to fight this man, because what he went through, what he put up with, the ridicule that he had inside the MMA community, because they thought he was thirsty for chasing and waiting for Conor McGregor. So I am glad that Conor McGregor has finally said, you know what, I'll fight you. And after that horrendous movie that he did on Roadhouse, I'm so glad to see him back inside the octagon.
I'm glad you brought it up that way, because everyone talks about how long it's been for McGregor to get into the octagon. You know, December of 2022, I was there at Madison Square Garden. That's the last time we've seen Michael Chandler fight for something that actually means something. So I wonder how much rust he'll have to knock off as well.
I don't think he cares. I think for him, he's just trying to cash out. I think he waited this long for McGregor, or else he would have retired. I don't think he cares. I don't think there's going to be any rust. I think this is that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that a guy like Michael Chandler is fully going to take advantage of. He's not going out to fight a calculated fight in which rust will have an effect on. He's going out to go balls to the wall, either get knocked out or knock Conor McGregor out. All he wants to do is put on a show, and that's going to be really good for the fans, because whenever you got a guy who wants to put on a show like that, and then you got a guy as dangerous as Conor, who's as lethal as Conor, we're always going to get a good show. And I'm excited about this because I'll be cornering the fighter on that card anyway, so I'm excited about International Fight Week.
Last thing for Dean Thomas, who joins us right now on the Zach Gelb Show, just continuing with that fight, McGregor going up against Chandler. And I remember 2 Super Bowls ago, I was talking to Dana White, and I said to him, you know, at the time where McGregor breaks his leg, right, he's lost 3 out of his last 4 fights. It felt like that was a wrap on his career. I never thought this fight was going to happen. So I felt that way back in 2021, and now we're going to see them fight in the summer of 2024. What do you expect out of Conor McGregor? Because he was obviously starting to look human the last time we've seen him, the last few timeouts in the octagon.
Honestly, I don't expect much from him. I mean, Conor was such a good fighter in his prime, but that window of being in your prime doesn't last very long. We've seen him just kind of flirt with that line of, is he still got it? Does he not have it? And then his last couple of fights, he just showed that he doesn't really have it. And so I'm not expecting much from him from a X's and O's standpoint. But in terms of excitement and entertainment, I'm expecting more from him than almost any other fighter on the roster of the UFC, because he knows how to bring it. And his fights are always entertaining. I just don't expect much from him in terms of being a good fighter. I don't expect him to come out with a Ilia Topuria-like performance.
So do you think Chandler's going to win right now if you had to give me an early prediction?
If I had to give you an early prediction, I would say that Chandler wins this fight. But as we get closer to the fight, when we start to see Conor train, that may change.
So if Conor loses, do you think that's a wrap? Do you think that's it for him with his UFC career?
You know, if Conor loses, there's only a couple other fights for him. Obviously, the Nate Diaz rematch, maybe a Jorge Masvidal fight. But if he loses, or we may see him in a Jake Paul boxing match. But if he loses, we will never see him in a conversation of UFC gold ever again.
He is Dean Thomas. Dean, always appreciate the time. Thanks so much for jumping on board with us today.
Thanks for having me, man. I truly appreciate you guys.
You got it. Thanks so much. There he is, Dean Thomas. Always does a great job breaking down everything, and he knows it from the fighter's perspective, being a part of the UFC for such a long time, and now he does a great job as a broadcaster, recapping UFC 300, and then getting an early preview on UFC 303, where we will see the return of Conor McGregor going up against Michael Chandler. And let me be abundantly clear about this. I hope Conor McGregor gets his ass kicked. He is so insufferable. And you know everything that happens away from the octagon. And he's so arrogant. And I get it's part of the sport. You got to be arrogant and you got to sell the fight and say a bunch of ridiculous things. But there is a laundry list of things that have happened in the last 2-3 years where you just look at Conor McGregor. And even if you did like him, it's tough to still like him. But with how long this is dragged out and where his career, and he's one of the greatest ever and maybe the most important person in the UFC ever, but where his career was going towards the end, and he lost 3 out of his last 4 fights, and then he breaks his leg, I thought it was a wrap then. So now, all these years later, to get back in the octagon and go up against Chandler, I know that Michael Chandler hasn't fought since he was at MSG in December of 2022, but I got to think Chandler is going to win. But we'll see the rust factor for both and how it does play on out. But I'll trust Chandler will be more prepared and will take the actual fight in the octagon more serious than Conor McGregor. Okay, we'll take a break. We'll come on back. We'll do a little onside, offside when we return. Update time first, though. Here is the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Oh, it's Patriots Day in Boston, so a lot going on there. The Red Sox with an early day game, and they were beaten by the Guardians by a score of 6-0. And, of course, the Boston Marathon won by Cisse Lemma in the men's division with a time of 2:06:17, the 10th fastest in the event's history. Helen Obiri was the repeat champion for the women. The Pirates are off to a terrific start. They're tied for the most wins in the National League with 11, as well as the Dodgers. Pittsburgh opens a 3-game series tonight in New York against the Mets. The WNBA draft will be held tonight. Barring the surprise of the century, the Indiana Fever will select Caitlin Clark with the number 1 pick overall just 8 days ago. She was playing for the national championship and told ESPN she's ready for the next challenge.
I think my expectation is to be one of the best players in the world one day, to be the best player, one of the best player in the world one day. I think I wouldn't expect anything less than that. That's just kind of, how I go about my business. And I think if I didn't expect that, people around me would be like, you're selling yourself short, because that's how much they believe in me, but also they know how much work I put in.
The NBA regular season ended yesterday. The play-in tournament begins tomorrow night. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now in the street there is violence, and lots of work to be done. No place to hang out or washing.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
We're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue.
Good rejoin music today. Boyle on the ones and twos. Pretty good, if I may say so myself. This is the Infinity Sports Network. This is the Zach Gelb Show. We're here Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, noon to 3 p.m. Pacific across all of our great local Infinity Sports Network stations, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and, of course, streaming live on YouTube, youtube.com/@Infinity Sports Net. All righty. Santer's got some questions for me. I got some answers. Let's go to a little onside offside. Patty Boyle, hit it.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
All righty, let's get to a little onside offside here. I actually have a question out of the gate, and I'm going to direct that question to Pat Boyle.
That's not how this game works.
I'm the quarterback. I make the rules here, all right? It is checks and balances, though, but, you know, I'm going to object to everyone else here. Pat Boyle, onside, offside. Beautiful day here in New York City. Weather's getting warm. We're at 70 degrees. This is a very casual office. Like, you could wear shorts to work. It's not the end of the world. Sometimes Pat, though, wears these, like, compression shorts. I think that's crossing the line. Too much thigh from Pat Boyle, if I may say so myself. But I was walking around the newsroom today, and I saw Samter's feet. He's wearing the good old flippity flops. Onside or offside? you should be able to wear flip-flops to work here at Infinity Sports Network. What do you say?
Onside. I'm going onside. I sponsor. I will co-sign any kind of fashion statement. And good, nice pair of flip-flops, open-toed with the little, split in the middle, not just the...
No, Sam just putting his
Show
feet
off
to the
those
camera.
puppies. Show
Get
those
an
puppies off.
OnlyFans. Get an OnlyFans. Oh, this is disgusting.
Were they hairy?
I wasn't Rex Ryan. I didn't really keep too long.
I am known to be a hobbit in some ways.
I'm going to go onside. I think that's fine, right? I mean, I got the shorts on today. Why not?
So take me through the decision-making process. And I am not like the king of fashion here, obviously. But why'd you go flip-flops today?
I mean, it's not about fashion. It's about comfort. It's 75 degrees. It can be like 77 when we leave here. Why not?
Those
Comfortable,
puppies need to be
it's easy.
I need shoes. If we're going to continue to work together, I think I need shoes.
Well, unfortunately, you don't get to dictate my outfits.
I
You
don't
can
know
dictate
about
many
that.
things, but not my outfits.
We have a new boss now, Ryan Hurley, who I have a good relationship with. Imagine that's the first thing I say to Ryan. Congratulations. Here's your first order of business. Make sure Samter wears shoes to work.
You know what? If we were in the same space and my feet smelled and you were complaining and it was distracting you, fine. But you and I are separated by soundproof glass. Boyle is 5 feet away from me. He hasn't said a word. My feet are okay. So you can't complain unless
Boyle
it's
did say
actually
to me.
impacting your work.
Boyle did say there was a peculiar smell. I don't think he realized that your toes were just out in the open.
That's also a possibility, too.
If they were funky, I would probably say something. No feet funk from Samter so far.
I think Samter's somewhat of a clean human being. Like, there's others that work here that they have a certain smell about them. There's one, I won't say that person's name, but there is one person in particular that I've had to work with before. And he's not on the regular show. That's what I'll just say. That I've had to work with him before, and every time I work with that person, I think he's either coming from the gym every time and I just want to throw him a can of deodorant or a stick of deodorant because he needs it.
And listen, coming from the gym is at least acceptable.
You're
that
listening
maybe you just
to
didn't
the
have
Good
time. You're
Shepherd on
rushing.
CBS Sports Radio.
But-
Where'd that come from?
Yeah. Now, not.
And you said the old network.
I did that on purpose.
Yeah. Coming from the gym is acceptable.
Don't make
Just
me lose
not
my
grooming yourself and not having hygiene, like
Yeah.
not showering in the morning or coming to work, that's not acceptable.
So I like Shep, but here's the problem with Shep. Every time I feel like he's coming from the gym or some high school basketball practice, and then he orders like Chinese food too. And I love Chinese food, but it's like all these like different, it's literally like you are in a frat house on a Friday evening. That's what it smells like with Shep. There's a bunch of different smells from the Good Shepherd here.
All right, well, I'll keep that in mind next time I see him.
I saw him today. He actually didn't smell that bad today.
He wasn't running a marathon or something?
No. Well, that's true. He also came running from a marathon to work with me once. So maybe that, I don't work with him a ton, so maybe that's what it was. All right, let's get to the questions.
All right, well, the Eagles lost Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox to retirement, but will be keeping Devonta Smith around for a while, inking the star wideout to a monster 3-year, $75 million extension with $51 million guaranteed. So onside, offside, Devonta Smith is a top 10 receiver in the NFL.
He is one of my favorite college football players of all time. It's amazing that having a Heisman Trophy may not be his greatest accomplishment because he also had a walk-off touchdown catch to win a national championship where Tua came in for Jalen Hurts and then found Devonta Smith on that great play in the left end zone up against Georgia. So just a remarkable college career. Has been a really good NFL wide receiver. That's a lethal 1-2 punch, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. He is close to being a top 10, but he's just on the outside looking in. There's just so many great wide receivers now in the league, and he's not the number one wide receiver on that team. So I have to do a slight offside here when you say, is Devonta Smith a top 10 receiver in the NFL?
Offside.
Number 2.
Now, while Smith is staying put, Brandon Ayuk may be on the move out of San Fran. However, this week, QB Brock Purdy said, quote, "I'll always have his back and support him in whatever he does.
I will always love you."
Well, sort of. I will always have your back and support him. I want what's best for him. It's a business thing, end quote. So onside, offside, the 49ers do need to keep Ayuk if they hope to win a Super Bowl this year.
This year, absolutely. Onside. Yes, you have Run CMC. Yes, you have Mr. Kittle. Yes, you got Deebo Samuel. But just having that extra guy in Ayuk who's a better receiver, not a better overall player, but a better receiver than Deebo Samuel, look, they have all these weapons, and they weren't still able to beat the Chiefs this past year. You need full go once again. Everyone's locked in for this season to try to go hoist a Lombardi trophy for that franchise. So, yeah, I think they need to keep Ayuk if they hope to win a Super Bowl this year. Onside.
Now, around the NFL, voluntary workouts start this week with a few noticeable absences. Obviously, Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb are no-shows for the Cowboys, while Justin Jefferson, looking for his new deal, is not at the first day of Vikings workout. So, onside, offside, it is a problem when star players skip voluntary workouts.
Samter, let me just say to you, hey, it's voluntary for you to show up to work tomorrow. Would you show up to work?
I mean, it's different.
Is it I'm asking you a question. If I said to you tomorrow, it's voluntary that you show up to the Zach Gelb show on the Infinity Sports Network. No harm if you don't show up. Would you be showing up? I won't be offended here.
If my appearance here, or lack of appearance, impacted our ability to work together and succeed together and have success as a show together, and we were judged based on that success, then, yeah, I probably would be here.
Missing these monotonous voluntary workouts means I have been to OTAs and training camps. The most boring thing, and I love football, boring to cover. And every year, it's negotiated. These are voluntary workouts. And people miss them and people lose their mind. I'm not losing my mind about Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson, who doesn't have a quarterback right now, missing the first days of voluntary workouts. That's the key word, voluntary. So is it a problem when star players skip voluntary workouts? No, sir. Offside.
Offside.
Now, after a final wild weekend in the NBA, the Oklahoma City Thunder sealed the #1 seed in the West despite finishing tied with the Nuggets. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander finished third in the NBA with
stud
30 points a game, 30.1 points a game, and Chet Holmgren will likely finish second in Rookie of the Year voting. Onside, offside, the Thunder are the best team in the West.
Offside.
Offside.
To be the champ, you got to beat the champ when it matters. I think I said that correctly. The Denver Nuggets are the team until they aren't hoisting that Larry O'Brien trophy again, that I think they're going to win the title until I'm proven wrong. Joker, Murray, when healthy, unstoppable in this day and age of the NBA. I will take the Nuggets, especially in the West, until someone proves me wrong.
Offside.
Now, speaking about those Nuggets, they are the 2 seed in their quest to repeat. And Jamal Murray made a bold statement heading into the postseason saying, quote, I think me and Jokic are undoubtedly the #1 best duo over the likes of LeBron and AD, Dame and Giannis, and Luka and Kyrie. Onside, offside, Jokic and Murray are the best duo in the NBA.
So out of the duos that you gave me, LeBron and AD, Dame and Giannis, you have Luka and Kyrie. Yeah, I think so, and here's why. They're the duo that I could trust the most. And I know Murray's had his fair share of injuries, but when he's healthy, there's just no way in stopping Nikola Jokic. So AD has health issues. LeBron has had health issues. Doncic and Kyrie, it's entertaining, but I don't really trust Kyrie. Yeah, I would go Joker and Murray. I think right now they're the best duo in the NBA on sides because I can trust them. Next question.
All right, well, over in the East, the Knicks and Sixers both got hot at the end of the season, with New York sneaking into the 2nd seed, while the Sixers are in the play-in game as the 7th seed. Now, if the Sixers beat the Heat on Wednesday, they'll face the rival Knicks in the first round. Onside, offside, obviously with a lower seed, but with a healthy Embiid, the Sixers will beat the Knicks.
I'll be rooting for the Knicks because I love me some Leon Rose. If Embiid's healthy, though, I kind of think the Sixers are going to pull off the upset. And I hate to say it. It'd be a miserable way for the Knicks season to end. But the Sixers with a healthy Embiid will beat the Knicks. I hope I'm wrong.
Let's make sure they can beat the Heat first.
I hope I'm wrong. It's just a question. I would go on sides. The Knicks and the Sixers need to have a baby, though. And what I mean by that is Joel Embiid needs to be on the Knicks. Could you imagine Embiid with Brunson? I don't think the Sixers can win a championship this year, and I don't think the Knicks can win a championship this year. But if you merge those two teams together, I think that's a championship team, or a team bare minimum that could get to the NBA Finals. And Samter led this charge. Jalen Brunson. I led the charge that he was great. Samter disrespected him a lot. That dude should receive some MVP votes. That dude he may be this year, not the best, but the most impressed I've been with an NBA player. Because he has carried that team, and you know that Randall's been out and he's out for the season. Coming on back, Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. I am a man of my word. My net worth is now down a whole quarter from what it was before we started this extravaganza, since we are now called the Infinity Sports Network. See, I knew it wasn't going to happen like right out of the gate when you're thinking about it, but then when you hear the music at the end of the hour and you rush it out, just naturally, with how many years I worked here at CBS Sports Radio, and we're no longer CBS Sports Radio, now we're the Infinity Sports Network. The daily lineup does not change. How you consume us does not change. It's just a different name. I knew that there was going to be some moments here in this initial transition where I'm just going to randomly say CBS Sports Radio. So every time I say that, I will put a quarter in this mug in front of us. So now I am out of a quarter. Man, can't believe I didn't even realize it, too. I went back on CBS Sports Radio after these short messages, and I'm just sitting there, and Samson goes, "You said CBS Sports Radio, you moron." And I was like, did I really?
I left out moron. I was thinking
no,
it,
you
but
were
I didn't say
thinking it, though. So we are here on the Infinity Sports Network. It is the Zach Gelb Show. So
I guess drinks are on me, by the way.
Why would drinks be on you?
I mean, you can't afford it anymore.
Oh. Pipe down there, you pipsqueak. Shut your mouth. I'll walk over there, take that flip-flop off of your foot and smack you over the head with it.
You know what? Here's why you're going to want these flip-flops
I
around
do
as
not
often
want
as
your
possible.
flip-flops.
No, not want them. You're going to want them around. Mm-hmm. There's a bottle opener on the bottom of them.
Okay.
I'm not joking. The bottom of each of these flip-flops has a bottle opener.
Oh, is that a dent? Is that an actual bottle opener?
It's an actual bottle opener.
Okay.
These are Reef flip-flops. Mm-hmm. No money being spent there. These are just the flip-flops I have. And
are you being serious?
Bottle. Yeah. Both of them have an actual metal bottle opener.
You're that much of a savage?
I mean, I'm not that much of a savage. It was just a cool little added bonus. It's nice when you're sitting out.
Wait, now hold on. Bring the flip-flop in the studio now. I need to see. It's tough because there's all these cameras in front of me. I could barely see you. Oh, this is going to beat this. I do not want to see these flip-flops, but this is intriguing. Let me see the flip-flop here real quickly. Give me a flip-flop. Oh, my God. That doesn't hurt. There's an actual... I'm touching these things. It's disgusting. That's an actual... You have two bottle openers? And that doesn't... Now, go back the other way so people could actually hear you. That doesn't... Like, Boyle, don't you think... I got to go wash my hands, too, now during the break, by the way. Don't you think if you're walking around with a bottle opener underneath your shoe? Two things. One, I feel like that's got to be uncomfortable. Two, now, you don't have large feet. I have large feet being a size 15. There's a lot of times... What?
My feet are proportionate to my body. I mean, don't...
What are you, 6?
Well,
7?
No, I'm bigger than that. This is, what they say about men with small feet and big feet and average-sized feet.
Big gloves and big shoes.
Yeah, that too.
I don't know where your dirty mind's going. What are you, a 7?
I'm usually anywhere between like a 7.5 and an 8.5.
Okay. So when I say 6 or 7.
Well, 6 is a big difference. No, 7.5 to 8.5.
Okay.
There's a big difference between a 6.
So there's a lot of shoes that I'm like Zion. I've bursted through the shoe. So I would be afraid if I bursted through the flip-flop there that the bottle opener would cut the bottom of my foot. That's not uncomfortable when you walk?
Not only is it not uncomfortable, you don't notice it at all. And these are the most comfortable flip-flops I've ever... So up until I got these flip-flops, which were a gift,
okay,
I never wore flip-flops. I swore up and down that they are uncomfortable, that they're terrible. I hate flip-flops. I got these. I wear them literally any time that it is nice enough that my toes are not cold, I will wear these. They are the most comfortable shoes I've ever worn.
Yeah.
And no, you do not feel anything with the bottle opener.
Now, 2 things. I'll have a follow-up on that. But first, you could confirm this is a quarter, correct?
Yeah, my eyesight is getting worse as I get older, but that looks like a quarter.
Someone in the chat's like, "Oh, you're cheating. You put a dime in there." No offense, I could afford the quarter to put in.
Well, hold on a second. Someone can tell what a dime sounds like versus how a quarter
and
sounds?
also, in my hand, hey, you have no clue what I'm actually putting, because this, maybe looks like a dime to some other people, but yeah, this is a quarter. This is an actual quarter. Boom, it goes in the mug. I'm not going to lie about that. I have some morals. Not a lot, but I do have some morals here. Now, Boyle, let me ask you a hygiene question. Boyle is a partier. Boyle enjoys himself. I could see Pat Boyle going down to the shore in the summer, big beach day. Boyle all oiled up with the chest puffed out. I'm on the beach trying to have some fun. Sit in the sand and just drinking a lot of cold beverages, adult beverages. Let's just say, Boyle, you're on the beach and someone passes you a beer and you need a bottle opener. If Samter said to you, "Oh, I got a bottle opener," and then tosses you his flip-flop, would you open the beer bottle with his sandy, dirty, smelly flip-flop?
Depends how thirsty I am.
How many drinks you had beforehand, probably?
And that as well. That would be the second determining factor. I'm a little surprised. If I had any other bottle opener, I would go with it over the bottom of somebody's sandal.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're in dire straits
Beggars
and you're in
can't
need
be
of
choosers.
one, then I guess you take what you can get.
And first of all, I've seen people open bottles with their
teeth.
mouths and their
disgusting.
Yeah, I've seen people use the most cigarette lighters to open bottles.
That's
What's the difference between the bottom of my shoe versus some nasty cigarette lighter that's been in your pocket or your teeth and slobbering all over it? Nasty.
Because it's you are walking on the streets of New York City, or in this case, you are walking on the beach. So your flip-flop is covered in dirt and sand, and then it is opening the bottle, which then will be covered in some dirt or some sand, and then I am drinking the bottle. That's disgusting.
Yeah, just wipe the top.
Can I ask you a question?
When did you get so froofy? When did you get so,
Froofy?
Soft, yeah, man.
No, I'm just
a little dirt on the lip of your bottle. You can't.
I'm not
handle it?
Howie Mandel, where when someone gets sick, I build a house and jump into someone's house and avoids my family. But a nasty flip flop to open up a bottle, yeah, that's a no for me, dog. I'm good on that one.
That's Randy Jackson.
I know it's Randy Jackson. I know.
He's skipping Howie Mandel, Randy Jackson. It doesn't matter.
I know Randy, just with Simon Cowell and Paul Abdul from American. That's a no for me, dog. I just like saying it. I like saying that's a no for me, dog. Yes, I would not be opening up a beer this summer on the beach. I could do some disgusting things. I'm not using your flip-flop to open up my my beer.
Do you share drinks? Do you have a problem with sharing drinks?
Do I share drinks? If I am, let's say, with the lady friend, I'll share a drink. If it's like my buddy is on the beach and we're drinking beers, I'm not sharing drinks.
Or like, well, not even just not like, hey, let's pass this back and forth. Like if somebody says, "Yo, try this," are you drinking it?
Yeah, I'll try it. Yeah, that's fair. If they want me to try and sample some of their alcohol, I will probably.
And what's your take on the straw? Right, like a rum and Coke. You going straw? You going right out of the glass?
I'm not using someone else's straw.
No, what about like just any straw? Right, like you get like a rum and Coke and there's a straw in it. You going straw? Because I know a lot of guys who just don't use straws at all.
Oh, no, I'll use a straw.
Okay.
If they give me a drink with a straw. See, you know what's weird when it comes to my alcohol intake? If let's say we're in like a competitive mood and we're like chugging beers. If I'm chugging a beer out of a bottle or a can, I suck. You put the beer in a cup, I delete the beer. Delete it, like, instantly. So, I don't know. Who was it Chuck Knobloch for the Yankees? Who had the
Wade Boggs.
No. Who had the throwing issue?
Oh, Chuck Knobloch.
It was Chuck Knobloch.
Yeah, the yips.
Yeah, the yips.
The yips.
I get the beer chugging yips if it's in a can or if it's in a bottle. But you put that sucker in a cup, I am Babe Ruth. All right, like I'm one of one. I am maybe the GOAT, as the kids would say. But
Okay.
I'm not using to open up that beer bottle. Your nasty, gnarly flip flop.
I haven't chugged a beer in quite a while.
Have you ever used that?
Yeah, of course.
You actually will open
in front of people?
It's actually on brand for Samter. Samter is actually a surprisingly funny person. And when I've been on road trips with Samter, if there's ever an issue or a problem, Samter always has like a quirky solution. So if I was at a hotel and let's say for whatever reason we couldn't open up a beer bottle or something, and Samter passed me his flip-flop, it would be on brand for Samter. It would be.
By the way, nice backhanded compliment. Surprisingly funny.
That's a compliment.
Surprisingly, it should be surprising. I should be, expectedly funny.
You would admit you have a little bit of a reputation around here where there's some newer people that come in where they could be a little bit afraid of you.
I
because
certainly
you're
have
a
an
serious
intimidation
person.
aspect of me, but I don't think, Boyle doesn't like me, but he's not afraid of me. It's different.
What are you talking about? Not only do I not like you, I am afraid of you.
No, but I will say this about the bottle opener on the shoe. Sitting outside on a nice hot summer day, and you have a beer in your hand, you just take it out of the cooler. Your leg is kind of like up on your lap. You just kind of lean over, pop the top, and boom, you're right there. You never have to move. You don't have to reach into your pocket. You don't have to look on the fridge. Boom, it's just right there.
I really would love to see like a setting where Samter pulls this off in in front of a bunch of people that he doesn't intimately know well, and they just to see the reactions.
You know what? I know what we'll do here at the Infinity Sports Network. I am going to pay Samter to hang out with Jack Stern.
No, thank you.
And I want you two to go out to an establishment and give Jack a beer without a bottle opener, and then you give him your sandal to open up the bottle.
I'll do that with
Jack, if you think I was mystified by this, I will eventually end the conversation and just be like, either that's cool or that's stupid. Jack will pester you with question after question after question after question.
Yeah, you're going to have to say CBS Sports Radio about 10,000 more times to fill up that mug before I'll actually go out and have a beer in that setting.
You got it. I'm paying you to drink. You wouldn't do it? For the beauty of the show?
It depends. It depends how much you pay me.
Okay.
I mean, listen.
$100.
We're talking about voluntary workouts and everything.
$100.
Yeah, $100 I'll do it.
Okay. That wasn't a tough negotiation here. I thought I was going to have to jack up that price.
Nah, $100 is fine.
Okay. Gotcha. I'll give Jack a text tonight. It's the Zach Gelb
Mike and
Show.
Ike, what does Zach think about us hanging out having beers?
On the Infinity Sports Network. Devontae Adams, I did see that he recently said that if I wanted to be gone, I'd be gone by now. This is where I want to be. He said it to The Athletic in regards to his tenure with the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders. What was that?
We have the cut.
Oh,
Do you want
we
to hear
have that
Devontae
audio?
saying it? Yes.
Oh, sorry. I thought that this was just something that was said to The Athletic and then it was just written. I did not know that this was audio. So you know what? Give me the audio, okay? Let's play the audio. Go on.
If I wanted to be gone, I'd be gone by now. So I picked to come here. This is where I want to be. And obviously, if you're not winning and things are not going the way you want, you either want things change to get headed in the right direction, or something else has got to change. So, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to be a Raider.
Hey, Devontae, quick follow-up. At the party that you're at right now, does anyone need a bottle opener on any of the beers that people are drinking? If so, I have a guy. I have a foot guy, Samter. He'll give you his flip-flop to open up that beer. That was an interesting background. I wasn't expecting. You had a party? Is it a benefit? I don't know what it was.
It's not like maybe like a
like an
camp
outdoor
or something.
event.
Yeah, like a bunch of kids around maybe.
Mm-hmm. So I agree with what Devontae Adams said, but I also roll my eyes at it. Yeah, you want to be there for this season. You made it clear, you and Max Crosby, that you wanted Antonio Pierce to be the head coach. You potentially requesting a trade as bargaining power to ensure, and he should have got the job, that Antonio Pierce became the next full-time coach of the Raiders. Let me just throw a little scenario out there. Let's say the first round of the draft comes and the Raiders don't take a quarterback. Now, Gardner Minshew is fine, but Davante Adams is used to playing with Aaron Rodgers. I know that his evaluation of quarterbacks can be a little questionable, let's just say. Not Rodgers, but because he was college teammates with Derek Carr, he thought Derek Carr was all that when Derek Carr is such an overrated quarterback, and I've been sick of Derek Carr for a while. So now you go from Rodgers to Carr, then this past year, a bevy of quarterbacks, Jimmy Garoppolo, Aiden O'Connell, and now you're either going with the rookie or you're going with Gardner Minshew. If the season doesn't go how Davante Adams expects it to be, and let's say Davante Adams' numbers take a little bit of a hit, I then think the year of being with Antonio Pierce and you wanting that to be happen, it does fade away. Where, yes, you love Antonio Pierce, but you also want to go to a place that you could win. And the dead cap number would have made it tough. Possible, but would have made it tough to get rid of Davante Adams this offseason. It shrinks significantly from 2024 to 2025. The dead cap right now on the surface is $40 million, a little over 40. Next year, with 2 years remaining on his contract after this year, 2025 and 2026, it goes to $15.7 million. The year after that, $7.8. So Davante Adams wants to be on the Raiders now. I'm not going to sit here and say that he wants to be on the Raiders for the rest of his career, or he's going to be there even through the duration of this contract. So I'm fascinated by what the Raiders do next Thursday and what the Vikings do next Thursday, because both have top 3 wide receivers. Adams already has the contract. Jefferson's looking for the new contract. And I think Justin Jefferson's the best wide receiver in football today. And both don't have clarity at the quarterback position. Gardner Minshew could prevent the ship from sinking. You're not going to win anything of significance with Gardner Minshew. The Vikings, they can't be trotting out Sam Darnold come week 1. Sam Darnold's remembered for seeing ghosts and getting mono. So stop selling me on this idea that Sam Darnold is going to have some success in the NFL. So the Vikings and Raiders are both talked about, the Vikings more so than the Raiders, about trading up in the draft. Vikings are at 11, Raiders are at 13. And I look at the draft. We know the Bears are taking Caleb Williams at 1. We know that the Commanders will take a quarterback at 2, probably. Hope it's not, because I want him on my team, but probably it's going to be Jaden Daniels. The Patriots at 3 are fascinating. Will they take the quarterback or will they trade the pick back? So that's a potential trade-up spot for the Vikings and the Raiders at 11 and 13. The Cardinals, a potential trade-up spot at 4. Here's something that I'll bring up. The Chargers are at 5. I think we could all agree the Chargers are a potential trade situation. The Vikings had Jim Harbaugh in for an interview 2 years ago, interviewed him for like 11 or 12 hours, and then didn't give him the job. Is there going to be a little spike game there? The Vikings are desperate. They call it the Chargers. We need a quarterback. Does Harbaugh maybe say, yeah, I'll trade that pick to the Raiders instead? And I know there's been some past flirtations with the Raiders and Harbaugh too. But the Vikings, he sat through that entire interview process and didn't get the job. And there's some rumors on why he didn't get the job, some in the organization not liking him. So I wonder if Harbaugh will play the spike card. But for the Vikings and the Raiders, they got to jump the Giants because the Giants want a quarterback. So 3, 4, and 5 in this draft are all trade-watching scenarios. Patriots, Cardinals, and then the Chargers. And I can't wait to see how it plays out. And maybe, right, if the Vikings or the Raiders, one of them aren't able to trade up, maybe one of them gets Michael Penix Jr. Because it feels like right now, first quarterback off the board will be Williams. Second will be Jaden Daniels. And I don't know where Drake May and J.J. McCarthy are going to go, but those two other guys, May and McCarthy, I would be surprised, not saying they deserve to go, but I would be surprised if they don't go in the top 6. So let's say, I don't know, a team that is not named the Vikings or the Raiders moves up into the top 5, and you have all 4 quarterbacks go in the top 5 that are talked about first rounders, Williams, Daniels, May, and McCarthy, or at least 4 in the top 6. And the Vikings and Raiders aren't going to move up or couldn't move up. At 11 or 13, then you get into Michael Penix Jr. conversation. And then that's a decision that has to be made. Do you wait on a quarterback and take a quarterback or figure out your quarterback in a different year? Or if you can't execute the deal, do you take Michael Penix Jr. at 11 or 13? I feel like the Vikings have to, because it's the future of Jefferson. And Jefferson and Addison kind of reminds you like a Washington scenario where Michael Penix had his most success, then translating into the NFL. The Raiders, though, I don't think they have to, because at least you have a fine enough backup in Gardner Minshew. But then once again, I know Minshew was a nice story last year. Does anyone think Minshew's going to be, right, the dude in Vegas this year? Personally, as much as I love Minshew with the mustache and everything, I don't. So there will be 5 quarterbacks that go in the first round. I know 4 will go in the top 6. But once those 4 do go as projected in the top 6, then the big question is, when does Michael Penix Jr. go? And the Vikings or Raiders' ability or inability to trade up may determine how early Michael Penix Jr. does go in this draft. We'll take a timeout. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. When we do return, Mark Pope is off to Kentucky. We will react to that when we come on back in 5 minutes.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity Sports Network.
That's right. It is the Infinity Sports Network, and this is the Zach Gelb Show. So, over the weekend, it was Thursday night. Sorry, I was off on Friday, so but my weekends, that's when I think the weekend starts. But I was off on Friday, and Thursday evening, I'm sitting around and getting ready to go to Connecticut in the morning to go see Bruce Springsteen and the legendary E Street Band. And a friend of the show, Mark Pope, it was reported that he's the new coach at Kentucky. And I'm like, wow. So we knew on Thursday, during Thursday's show, that Scott Drew said thanks but no thanks. And then a lot of people thought the pivot would be right to Billy Donovan. And a lot of the reporting is like that the Wildcats weren't that interested in Billy Donovan. Maybe behind the scenes he said thanks but no thanks. And they could have waited for him through the play-in tournament. But then if they got into the actual playoffs and they had another series they had to lose 4 times before they get eliminated, then who knows if they could have waited that long. But Mark Pope was a name that was floated out there by John Rothstein. So give John credit because he was the first person that I saw float out the name Mark Pope. And my initial reaction to the Mark Pope hire was, I don't think it was going to be met in a positive way, but personally, I didn't think it was a bad hire because we got into those names. You couldn't get Jay Wright. You couldn't get Dan Hurley. Scott Drew says no. And then I said, what happens if Billy Donovan says no? And the name that I threw out there was Bruce Pearl. I thought Bruce Pearl would have been a wonderful hire. We had on one Kentucky reporter who suggested maybe a reunion with Rick Pitino. Others said Sean Miller, Tommy Lloyd, Shaka Smart's name was even floated out there. Like, once you got past potentially no Donovan, and Donovan is a risk, even though he won 2 championships at Florida, but he hasn't coached in college basketball since 2015, and he hasn't dealt with the name, image, and likeness era. Now, I think he could absolutely win. There's no doubt about it. He could return to college basketball tomorrow and win. But when you got into the names of people after Scott Drew, outside of Billy Donovan, it was a lot of humana. So the Mark Pope hire, where he's coach at Utah Valley, and now the last few years has been at BYU, I think it's a solid hire considering the circumstances. Where you weren't getting Scott Drew, you obviously had no chance for Jay Wright, you had no chance for Dan Hurley. So the Mark Pope hire, it's surprising, but surprising doesn't mean that it's a bad hire. And what you've seen happen is Coach K and Roy Williams both walked away. They retired. John Calipari left to go to another school because he knew his time was coming to a close at Kentucky. So the Hubert Davis and John Shire hires by UNC and Duke had the fingerprints of a Roy Williams and a Coach K on them making those decisions. So I get it, what I'm about to say. John Calipari didn't make this hire. But it's almost like Mitch Barnhart kind of followed what Duke and UNC did, where you bring one of your own, and I know Hubert Davis and I know John Shire were already on the staffs, so they were already there. But Mark Pope was the captain of the 1996 Kentucky Wildcats that won a national championship. He has paid his dues where he's been a head coach at other spots. It's not like you're just saying, oh, we're hiring a Kentucky guy to hire a Kentucky guy, and he's only been an assistant or he doesn't have any head coaching experience. He's had head coaching experience. Now, this is an enormous job, and this is one of the prime real estates in college basketball, and this is a creme de la creme job. So I'm not expecting this to be met in a very positive way because you thought it would be a bigger name. But just because it's not the bigger name doesn't mean it's a wrong hire. And here's what I know about Mark Pope. Mark Pope won the press conference. We knew that was going to happen. Mark Pope is an exuberant personality dude, and his teams like to shoot a lot of three-pointers. And even though he hasn't had tournament success, what tournament success were people really expecting where he's been before? So Mark Pope was ready for the next job. I didn't think his next job was going to be Kentucky. But I think in the big picture, and there's going to have to maybe be some tough years before there's been great years. I think there's more, maybe indictment's not the right word, but this is more of an indictment on what a coach is now. I know that sounds weird, in the year of 2024. Like the big name coach and like that legendary, because we had so many of them. And it's so tough to like replace the legends, right? But I think coaching now, you can't be the drill sergeant anymore, but you don't want to be a doormat. I think there's a fine line here. And there's a new era coach now in college sports because of dealing with NIL and dealing with the transfer portal, where it's going to be tougher for the legendary coaches to exist because a lot of those legendary coaches, right, have the power, they have the clout, and it's their word or get out. Now the players have options where they could get out a lot more easier. So I think Mark Pope, even though you wouldn't have ever thought he would have got the job when the search started, it fits what people are looking for in a coach in 2024. Now, the introduction was a badass intro. Well, we know Big Blue Nation is like second to none. They packed that entire stadium for a press conference, a dang press conference over the weekend when people like have actual things to do. So the fanfare was remarkable. And to stroll into the press conference on a bus, walking off the bus with your 1996 Kentucky Wildcat teammates, it's brilliant. Because on social media, and I understand social media is not a true reflection of society. Like, there's a lot of people that will tweet you mean, nasty, and disgusting things on social media. And then you never hear those things in the street. And most people that you meet when you're in a job like this or you're in a coaching profession, most people say positive things when they see you face to face. But behind the internet, that's when a lot of the nastiness occurs. But it was crazy that you had a packed house where he got a standing ovation. And on social media, you would have thought this was a hire that was going to set back Kentucky basketball for at least a decade. So it just shows you that social media and the trolls on social media is not a true reflection of our society. So I wish Mark Pope nothing but the best. But I haven't seen, like, the Coach Cal introductory press conference at Arkansas I thought was cool. I'm a sucker for the Pig Suey chant, right? You had the Tyson chicken guy getting a standing ovation. Oh, that was cool. But that was a pimple on the you-know-what of what Kentucky was able to do at their introductory press conference. And it all started with the fans not only being there, but then playing to the fans and bringing out the 1996 champions. Let's hear one soundbite from Mark Pope. This is Mark Pope on the expectations at Kentucky.
Every coach in America, at every other job in America, stands up at their press conference and they try and moderate expectations. We don't do that here at Kentucky. I understand the assignment. We are here to win banners.
And that's not just bull junk that you hear from a coach. Because we had Mark Pope on before he even knew the Kentucky job was going to be open and before he was even a candidate or the fact that he was going to get the job. And I asked about John Calipari, and he thought Coach Cal was the right guy. And he also said in that clip when he joined us that if you don't win 4 championships in a 5-year span at Kentucky, then you always will hear it from the fans because that, like, the expectations are set that high. So it's kind of crazy that a little over a week ago, we were sitting with Mark Pope talking about the Kentucky job and John Calipari, and then poof, that job opens up with Cal going to Pig Suey with the Razorbacks, and now Mark Pope is the next head coach of the Wildcats. All righty, we'll take a time out here on the Infinity Sports Network. Let's get a latest sports flash from Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, Patriots Day in Boston, but not a good day for the Red Sox, who lose to the Guardians by a score of 6-0. And the Boston Marathon going on simultaneously to that Red Sox game. It was won by Cisse Lemma, who turned in the 10th fastest time in the history of the event at 2:06:17. Helen Obiri successfully defended her title in the women's division. The Pirates and Dodgers both have 11 wins, most in the National League. The Bucks are in New York to open up a 3-game series against the Mets. The Dodgers take on the Nationals with 3-0. Tyler Glasnow going tonight. He's coming off an outing in which he matched his career high with 14 strikeouts.
I felt just a lot more balanced. I think just everything, like my direction going towards home was more consistent than normal, and I think like everything was able to tunnel off of it. And I think even like the misfires were kind of misfires in the zone, so I think just being able to throw more strikes and get ahead of guys.
The Yankees have a Major League best 12 wins and open a series in Toronto. The WNBA draft will be held tonight. The Indiana Fever hold the number 1 pick, and as close as a certainty as you can possibly get, they'll use that pick on Iowa star Caitlin Clark. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network. That's it. Play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
What the heck is going on out there? I'm taking my quarterback. We're the Infinity Sports Network. That imaging was updated. Come on! Samter and Boyle, we working today or are we hardly working? No, I'm not actually that bad. It happens. So, it's all right. You don't have to look all bewildered. Samter looks like he's want to like kill someone right now, and Boyle just looks happy to be here. We could pop me back up on the stream, by the way, on YouTube, so you can see my beautiful mug. Let's not, like, it's all right. It's a new network, even though it's the same thing, just name change, and all the hosts are here to say. But, man, I know that was edited correctly to make sure that we had our new intro. Was it not, Samter? Let's see. Is Samter going to throw someone under the bus here, or was there a boo-boo behind the scenes? What's the truth? What just happened here? I get my quarterback, so I'm very happy.
I think somebody should be thrown under the bus. It does say Zach Gelb Backstreet Boys ISN open.
Oh, so someone messed it up. Someone messed it up. I listened to one without the mention of the old network, and it was good to go. So, do I get to keep my quarter now? Because when I say it, I put a quarter in.
No, someone else has to put a quarter in. We'll have to figure out who.
Okay.
Either me or this other person.
Gotcha. My quarter's back in. Now,
Keep your quarter in there.
Do you think I could leave this mug here with the quarter in it, and the quarter will still be there tomorrow? Or do you think someone will five-finger discount my quarter?
855. Who would take it?
855-212-4227. If I had to put odds, well, shows that emanate from here. It's Maggie and Perloff.
Correct.
Bill is in L.A. Jim is in L.A.
Bart's not here.
Bart's not here.
Milwaukee.
JR's not here. And Amy's here. So it'd only be Maggie and Perloff and Amy. All three of those people, I don't think they need the quarter. I'm just going to say that.
Weekend hosts.
Weekend hosts? Little vending machine? Quarter action? Absolutely. Absolutely. All righty. Let's update you on some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. Let's get to up. Are you guys ready today? Can't get the rejoin back. I'm ready to go to a news brief. And now I'm telling that I have to stall here. I'm throwing people under the bus here. I have no patience.
That one's on me. The Backstreet Boys messed me up because I had my place marker on it. I was going to drag it up. All right, let's do it.
Okay, let's get to a news brief.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
All righty, let's start off with Andrew Luck. Has he ever considered returning to the NFL?
Ever that itch to, I'm healthy, I could do this again. Or I could do it,
No, I think when I retired, that part of it was put to bed in my mind in a very simple sort of direct. There was a lot of complications around it. It's certainly tormented inside. As you guys saw, that night. But I think that part of it has stayed in a simply squared away.
This question is so stupid. Like, Samter, let me ask you this, because you're a good producer. We're having Andrew Luck on the show today. Do I have to, let's say that audio clip didn't emerge. Do I have to ask him if he'll ever return to football when the last time he played was in 2018 and now he's 34 years old? Would you be annoyed if I didn't ask him that?
Yeah, I mean, everyone has to ask that question. And this question was more, have you ever considered it?
Okay,
Did you ever get the
that's
itch?
fine.
That's more, I don't think at this point anyone's expecting him to come back. But up until a year or two ago, people were always throwing his name out there when Phil Rivers went away.
Stupid. This guy literally retired and walked away because he made a promise to himself if he ever got hurt again and couldn't fully practice, he would walk away. And he had the stones to stick through with that. And he retired. I never thought, because his injury is why he walked away, that he would ever return. And it's crazy. Like, maybe if someone ever called him, things like that, okay. But this idea of him ever coming back when he last was a member of the Colts in 2018 is just a jackassery to me. Here's Scotty Scheffler. I'm winning another green jacket at Augusta.
I tried not to let my emotions get the best of me this time. I kept my head down. I don't even think I took my hat off and waved to the crowd when I was walking up 18. I did my best to stay in the moment. I wanted to finish off the tournament the right way. And I got to soak it in there after one putting instead of four putting, which was a little bit better.
So there you go from Scotty Scheffler. Congratulations to him. Let's hear legendary play-by-play man Sean McDonough. He was doing a little play-by-play. I think it was of Scotty Scheffler's sister hitting a golf ball, and she just absolutely, it was an ugly golf shot. That's all I'll say. And this is what Sean McDonough had to say.
Sister Sarah Scheffler, little fat, the shot. She's obviously very fit.
That was on the Wednesday right before the Masters. That's just so unfortunate for Sean McDonough. Like, it was, everyone knows what he means. Like, oh, it was a little fat, the shot. But when you say Scotty Scheffler's or Scotty Scheffler's sister, little fat, like, what are you doing, bro? She's fit, obviously the shot. That's unbelievable. Did you guys like Sean McDonough when he did play-by-play for Monday Night Football?
I think he was okay. I thought he was good. I just think he had that one unfortunate day where he had something going on and you had and then it happened again. He had 2 of those. I think he's great on hockey. That's probably his best
college
sport.
football. He's awesome.
Yes.
See, I always like the voice crack. When you get a touchdown, you're like, 10-5 touchdown! I've always loved that from a play-by-play guy.
Really? That's like a cardinal sin.
Yeah, from you button-up, boring broadcasters. I thought Sean McDonough was very good on Monday Night Football. It was just that he would always criticize the referees, which I was a fan of, but the NFL didn't like that. Let's go to Tiger Woods on just finishing at the 2024 Masters.
It was a good week. It was a good week all around. I think that coming in here and having not have played a full tournament in a very long time, it was a good fight on Thursday and Friday. Unfortunately, yesterday didn't quite turn out the way I wanted to.
I hate to say it because I felt this way going into the Masters. And I get it. Tiger's body has been through a lot of unfortunate things. But Tiger Woods, when he was asked about if he thinks he could win this week, and he's like, if my body holds up, yeah, I think I can. Like, whenever you're Tiger and you have to say something with how confident you were in the past with an if, it shows that your confidence is not really there. And for Tiger Woods, who was 16 over, and I said a good week for Tiger would just be getting through and playing all 4 rounds. So, in essence, I said that, so it's tough for me to criticize him now. But knowing who Tiger is, when you're saying he had a good week and he was 16 over, that just shows you can never expect Tiger to win another major again. And what he did a few years back, right, the 2019 Masters is crazy. It's ridiculous. And that's the last major that he's ever going to win. But, with everything he's been through, some self-inflicted and others, you just can't prevent injuries all the time. It stinks. It stinks when you have to hear Tiger speak that way. Here is John Rahm talking about LIV Golf.
You made some comments to BBC about understanding the gravity of your decision to go to LIV Golf. When you did that, was part of that motivation to try to bring the game together, and did you expect there to be kind of more movement toward that by now?
I understood my position, yes. And I understood that it could be what I hoped, a step towards some kind of agreement, yes. Or more of an agreement or expedited agreement. But unfortunately, it's not up to me. So, but I would hope it would be something that would help expedite that process. But at the end of the day, I still did what I thought was best for myself.
Yeah, you took the bag. And that's always my problem with the LIV Golf guys. Just be honest and say, I'm taking the money. And he kind of did it there. But this idea that him going to LIV Golf is going to unify and expedite the LIV Golf and the PGA relationship, even with the financial merger that we still have no clue about, like, stop it. He was in a salty mood all week long at Augusta. And how about you have some class, John Rahm, too? You just won the championship last year. You know you have to give the green jacket to the new winner in Scotty Scheffler, who's a previous winner, too. He looked like he wanted no part of that ceremony. I was very disappointed with John Rahm and how he carried himself. I get it. You didn't play well. But as a Masters champion and how rich a tradition there is at Augusta National, you got to at least put a little smile on your face there during the ceremony. Let's go to Dana White. After UFC 300, he announces something pretty big for the future.
I'm getting notes. This has never happened before. June 1st, Newark, New Jersey pay-per-view. Main event, Islam versus Poirier. Co-main event, 5 rounds, Strickland versus Costa. June 29th, Conor versus Chandler. 5 rounds, 170 pounds.
I know a voice in the background there. That's former CBS Sports radio producer. I know we're now the Infinity Sports Network, but he's never worked on the Infinity Sports Network. He's not with the company anymore. That's Ike Feldman screaming, "Let's go" in the background. I guarantee you Ike Feldman was at that event, and he's the one screaming, "Let's." I could recognize that voice from, even though that event was in Las Vegas, and we're sitting here in New York City just hearing that audio. So Great that Conor McGregor's coming back because it will draw more interest to the sport of UFC, but I think he's going to get destroyed by Michael Chandler. And I actually hope that he does too. All righty, WNBA draft coming up in a bit. Caitlin Clark is going to be the number 1 overall pick. We will be back tomorrow. A lot of football to get to, a lot of NBA with the play-in tournament starting tomorrow as well. Day 1 in the books for the Infinity Sports Network. Big thanks to Patty Boyle. Big thanks to Mike Samter and each and every one of you. New name of the network, but we continue to give you the same great old content. Nothing's changing from the shows that you like to listen to each and every day. All righty, everybody. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.